In the heart of Chicago, where power and prestige rule the streets, a billionaire's empire hides a secret. His name commands respect, his generosity inspires millions, but whispers tell a different story, a hidden truth buried beneath luxury and influence. This threatens to shatter everything he's built. One night, he vanishes, shedding his identity, trading wealth for obscurity. Disguised as a man society ignores, he steps into their world, and what he finds changes everything. But when the truth surfaces, it won't just shake his empire, it could destroy him. In the heart of Chicago, where skyscrapers kiss the clouds and the streets buzz with life, Jonathan Sterling was a name that carried weight. A self-made billionaire, Jonathan was the founder and CEO of Sterling Enterprises, a conglomerate spanning real estate, technology, and philanthropy. He was celebrated for his philanthropy, building community centers, funding arts programs, and donating to environmental causes. The media adored him, painting him as a modern-day hero, a man who used his wealth to uplift others. Yet, beneath the glittering surface of his success, whispers began to spread. Rumors circulated that Jonathan's kindness was nothing more than a carefully crafted facade. Employees at his tech company claimed they were overworked and underpaid. Tenants in his real estate developments complained of neglect and rising rents. Even the environmental initiatives he funded were said to be mismanaged, with little real impact. The city was divided. Some believed the rumors, while others dismissed them as the jealous mutterings of those who couldn't match Jonathan's success. Jonathan himself was no stranger to these whispers. They gnawed at him. He prided himself on his integrity and couldn't ignore the allegations. Determined to uncover the truth, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He would go undercover and see for himself how his companies were run and how people were treated. But to do this, he needed to become someone else entirely. Jonathan spent days meticulously planning his disguise. He traded his bespoke suits for worn-out jeans, a faded work shirt, and scuffed boots. He roughed up his hair, added a fake 5 o'clock shadow, and even donned a pair of cheap, wire-rimmed glasses. When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. He looked like a down-on-his-luck handyman, someone who had been forgotten by society. One chilly morning, Jonathan walked into one of his apartment buildings, Sterling Residences, in a lower-income neighborhood. The doorman barely glanced at him as he shuffled through the lobby. He sat on a worn bench, his heart pounding. Would they recognize him? Would they see through his disguise? Minutes passed, then an hour. No one paid him any attention. Tenants bustled past him, ignoring him completely. Finally, a young maintenance worker approached him. Her name tag read Maria Sanchez. She had kind eyes and a weary smile, a stark contrast to the cold indifference of the other residents. "I'm sorry, sir," Maria said, her voice soft. "Are you waiting for someone? Can I help you?" Before Jonathan could respond, the property manager, a slick, middle-aged man named Kevin, appeared. "Maria, what are you doing?" he snapped. "We don't have time for loiterers. Tell him to move along." Maria hesitated, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. "But, Kevin, he might be a resident with a question." Kevin interrupted. "We have standards to maintain. Tell him to get lost." Jonathan's heart sank. He had heard enough. He stood up, feigning embarrassment. I was just resting a bit," he mumbled. Kevin rolled his eyes, but didn't stop him. As Jonathan made his way out, he saw Maria lingering, looking upset. That evening, Jonathan returned to the building, this time as himself. Dressed in a sharp black suit, his hair perfectly styled, he exuded power and authority. The moment he walked in, the staff sprang into action. Kevin rushed to greet him, his demeanor completely different from earlier. "Mr. Sterling, what an honor to have you here," Kevin gushed. "Everything is running smoothly, just as you'd expect." Jonathan nodded, his expression unreadable. "Good. I'd like to speak with Maria, the maintenance worker." Kevin's smile faltered. "Maria? She's just a junior employee. Surely you'd prefer to speak with me or the head of property management." "Bring her to me," Jonathan said, his tone leaving no room for argument. Moments later, Maria appeared, her eyes wide with fear. "Mr. Sterling, I didn't do anything wrong," she stammered. Jonathan's expression softened. "You're not in trouble, Maria. In fact, I want to thank you." Maria blinked in confusion. "Thank me." Jonathan turned to Kevin, his voice cold. "Earlier today, I came here in disguise. I saw how you treated someone you perceived as less than you. I saw how you spoke to Maria. I saw the general atmosphere of neglect in this building." Kevin paled. "Mr. Sterling, I can explain." "No," Jonathan interrupted. "You're fired, effective immediately. And I will contact the police about some money I found missing." The lobby fell silent. Kevin stared in shock, then stormed out without another word. Jonathan turned to Maria. "You showed kindness and compassion when no one else did. That's the kind of leadership this building needs. Starting today, you're the new property manager." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Me? But I'm just a maintenance worker." "You're more than that," Jonathan said. "You have the heart and the integrity to make a difference. I trust you to lead this team." As the days passed, Maria proved to be an exceptional property manager. She implemented changes that improved living conditions, ensured fair treatment for all tenants, and brought a sense of community to the building. Jonathan visited often, proud of the transformation he had set in motion. But one day, Maria discovered something unsettling while reviewing old financial records. She found discrepancies. Large sums of money had been funneled into offshore accounts. She brought this to Jonathan's attention, her hands trembling as she handed him the documents. Jonathan's face darkened as he reviewed the records. "This is Kevin's doing," he said. "He's been embezzling funds for years." Maria gasped. "What do we do?" Jonathan's jaw tightened. We expose him, but we need evidence. Together, they worked to gather proof of Kevin's crimes. It was a risky move, but Jonathan was determined to protect his legacy and the people who depended on him. When they had enough evidence, they contacted the police, and Kevin was arrested. Jonathan's reputation was restored. The experience left him with a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that true kindness wasn't just about grand gestures, it was about the everyday actions that made a difference in people's lives. With Kevin gone and Maria at the helm, Sterling residences began to transform into a place that truly reflected Jonathan's values. Maria wasted no time in implementing changes. She organized community events, created a tenant association, and ensured that every resident, regardless of their background, was treated with respect. The atmosphere in the building shifted almost overnight. The tenants, once neglected and frustrated, now smiled and waved to each other. Jonathan visited the building often, sometimes in disguise, to observe the changes firsthand. He would sit in the lobby, chatting with tenants and watching Maria interact with the staff and residents. Her kindness and leadership were evident in every gesture. She had a way of making people feel seen and valued, something Jonathan realized had been missing from his own leadership style. One evening, as the building buzzed with activity, Jonathan approached Maria. "You've done an incredible job," he said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "This place feels alive again." Maria smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Thank you, Mr. Sterling. But there's still so much to do. The residents trust me now, but they're still recovering from years of neglect. And some of them still remember the old Sterling residences. It's going to take time to change that perception." Jonathan nodded, understanding the weight of her words. "Change is never easy," he said. "But you've already made a tremendous difference. And you're not alone in this. I'm here to support you every step of the way." Maria's eyes softened. "Thank you. That means a lot." Years later, Jonathan's story became a legend in Chicago. His companies were not just businesses, they were community hubs where everyone was welcome. The community centers he funded were thriving, providing hope and opportunity to countless individuals. Maria, now a successful businesswoman in her own right, often spoke about the day Jonathan walked into her life disguised. "He showed me that one act of kindness can change everything," she would say. "And that's a lesson I'll carry with me forever." As for Jonathan, he continued to live by the values he had discovered during his time in disguise. He knew that the true measure of a person wasn't their wealth or power, but their ability to make a difference. And as he looked out over the city he loved, he knew he had done just that.